Lately, I've been getting a lot of feedback about my pressure-free decluttering style. It's a reoccurring theme that I hear from people who like watching the Sunday series on this channel. So in today's Friday Focus video, I wanted to explain to you why I'm such a huge fan of pressure-free decluttering. Apologies if you hear a noise in the background. That is the air conditioner and it is mega hot here and it's just way too hot, so I'm sorry. I've seen this type of comment on the channel a lot over the years, but there's one in particular that I will not forget. For this particular comment that I saw, the daughter went to help her parents and she had these expectations of how much she wanted her parents to let go of, and they didn't want to do that. What ended up happening is that it ended up in a really bad fight, and she lived hours away and she got in her car and she drove home, and it really fractured their relationship. It's not dramatic to say that whenever one party is pressuring the other to let go of something that they're not ready, there is a high likelihood that it's going to explode and you really can damage your relationship in this process. I know this is extreme and it doesn't always happen like that, but even if you just have fights, it's not going to create an environment where either party wants to come back to help the other. You're probably going to want to distance yourself from that. Decluttering is hard because it involves making really tough decisions. And if you're adding pressure into that situation, you're just asking for things to get even more complicated. In all my experience working with clients, I've learned that decluttering isn't a numbers game or a strategy game. It's good to have a strategy and it's good to have goals, but more important than any of that is that decluttering is a game of motivation and mental energy, and a pressure-filled environment is going to make you feel exhausted and burnt out. On the other hand, a pressure-free environment is going to make you feel like, hey, this declutter thing, it's not so bad. I'm gonna keep going. That is all that matters, is that you keep going. One of the new projects that we're taking on for our Sunday series is gonna come out later in the fall. One thing that she said to me on the phone was, April, I'm not stressed, I'm not anxious about you coming because I know that you're not gonna pressure me into decluttering something before I'm ready. And this is coming from somebody who not wanted to declutter for decades. That means so much because that means that the door is open to decluttering. That openness means that we can move forward in our declutter and continue to make progress and gain momentum in our declutter journey and help her build her declutter muscles because she's not afraid of the pressure. Releasing that pressure is what's going to help us get started. We have to start somewhere. I don't want to confuse pressure-free decluttering or gentler decluttering with being a pushover. I'm not just letting my clients keep everything. Otherwise, why would I be coming to their house? What I mean by pressure-free is in that moment, you don't have to make a decision when you're not ready. Because it is declutter therapy, we do have to process these items. It's just how our brains work. We need time to think about things. So in the moment, if you're faced with something that's holding you up on your declutter and you just don't feel confident about it either way, I would rather you set it to the side for this pass and then move on and keep going, because forward momentum is really the game that we're playing here. It's all about continuing. If you stop your declutter and you get hung up on that, if you feel that anxiety and that pressure just building up, you're probably going to gas out and quit, because Netflix is way more exciting than having to make a decision on this. On top of that, you're probably going to keep procrastinating ever coming back to decluttering because you know that that decision is waiting right there for you to decide on, and you don't want to do that. Like, I procrastinate too, I get it. But whenever you release that pressure from yourself and set the item to the side and you continue going in your declutter and continue making progress, continue getting out all of those things that are easy for you to get out, this is what happens. You start to feel the change in your home. You feel lighter, you feel less stressed, you literally feel like you can breathe easier in your home because you have space. And you want to keep going, and then you'll find yourself, I promise you, you will revisit that item later. And you've been thinking about it this whole time in the back of your mind. You might not even know that you are. And maybe if you're not thinking about it, you can just come back with fresh eyes and stronger declutter muscles and make a more confident decision. Even if that means that you're going to keep that item, but you're confident about it, that's awesome. That's what I want to see. But you'll never get there unless you release the pressure from yourself in the first place and allow yourself to keep going and not get hung up on those decisions. We're playing the long game here. with decluttering. And the long game means that we have to keep our momentum going because it is a journey to get to the finish line. And there's another kind of pressure that we haven't discussed yet, and that's the pressure that you put on yourself whenever you set out to declutter or organize your home. You always want to come in when I'm filming, huh? Want to say hi to your fans? Yeah, you tell them you've been sick this week. You might watch Netflix or YouTube and see a transformation taking place in just a few days, and you might then put that same pressure on yourself to have the same results or the same timeline as they do. But this doesn't work because what you're doing is ultimately just setting yourself up for failure. Your expectations are so high now that you probably are going to scare yourself out of starting in the first place, especially when it comes to setting expectations for yourself based on what you see online or on TV. What you see on TV, no matter how real life we try to make it, at the end of the day, it's still going to be a production. If you find yourself comparing yourself to what we do in our Sunday series versus what you do at home, just know it's real life decluttering, and we do show some of the hiccups that happen, but at the end of the day, it's still a production. The best way to have a pressure-free decluttering environment is just to set realistic expectations from the very beginning. This is why in my book I put so much emphasis on the before work, the work that we do before we ever lift our hands to declutter anything. This beginning stage of your declutter journey is so important. This is when we set the realistic expectations, and we talk more about that in the before section of the book. I want you to set realistic expectations for yourself. That's how you can maintain this pressure-free, lighthearted declutter environment, which is what we want, because that's what keeps you coming back week after week, because decluttering takes time and it takes multiple passes. So take the pressure off yourself, set realistic expectations that are going to work for you, and you might find that you actually get done more than you thought. When you get caught up in the pressure of decluttering, remind yourself this is your declutter journey, and the most important thing is that you get started and you keep going. Don't get hung up on those decisions. I promise, just trust the process, and you will come back to those items later with a clearer and more confident mind. If you don't believe it, just try it for yourself. I hope you're enjoying our Friday Focus videos. If you're new to our schedule, every Sunday we have our Sunday series videos where we're adapting the Space Maker method in real homes around the world. And the Friday Focus videos are designed to be short and sweet videos to help you grow your declutter muscles. If you have any other focus topics that you want me to cover, leave those down below and we will add them to our list. Bye.